Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hitting the Bars. It is your co-host Sav with her lovely co-host Keltie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good. I feel like we usually get to catch up beforehand and we didn't. So this is going to be the raw, honest catch up of the day with you.
Exactly. You know what? It's nice. Include people. It's like a behind the scenes. Bit more raw, unfiltered.
How we actually talk to each other. What's up, girl?
Right? Our whole accents change
what
everything. Yeah. Definitely don't talk like that.
I'm actually British.
Yeah. Fun fact. Well, how you
Or
feeling? Oh, how you feeling? You said you were feeling a little, I just think it.
Yeah, I was telling Keltie I started my period a couple days ago and I have the IUD and usually it's like fantastic for me. But like, I don't know why this one, I had horrible cramps. My friend had to bring me Advil when we were like out at dinner. And just today I felt so tired, like an overwhelming sleepiness where I just wanted to take a nap and I never want to nap. So I don't know. I was like literally in my head being like, am I pregnant or something? And I'm like, no, because I have my period and I have an IUD. But I'm like,
definitely not.
Clear, there's going to be somebody that's like, Savannah is pregnant. Yeah. But no, I think I just have a lot going on. I mean, I went to Seattle for my grandma's funeral. I went to New York. And then we have our big old wedding coming up. So I just think, like you said, it's just a lot going on. And my body's like, what the hell? But I mean, I have been treating it kindly. I'm not drinking. I'm not like staying up late. Like, I don't know I just think emotionally I'm tired maybe.
It's one of those things I think we forget, especially as women, naturally, that like how much stress can affect our body and travel and all that. And then you add that we have these random hormone inflections. So it can be like just a cascade of things. So even though you're treating your body as great as you can, do you know what I mean? There's still like, you just never know. I just thought it was super ironic because I just had, not to be all like, my problem is just so funny that we're both having at the same time. I just had the worst PMS of my life. I just got off my period and it was the worst period I've had in forever. And so it's just like, I was like, is there something in the air? Is Mercury in retrograde? Is it something about January? You know what I mean? You know, isn't the third Monday, January, like the most depressing day of the year or something? Like, do you think maybe that ties all into it too? And then, of course, I would say your wedding planning also has an effect because that's got to be so much stress on your body.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking when I felt that way today, I was like, there must be something in the air with like, you know, I'm not really into astrology or I'm not into any of that kind of stuff. I'm very like simple with life, but I'm like, I would believe it. If someone was to tell me Mercury is in retrograde, I'd be like, for sure. But yeah, I mean, even though I'm like, I feel like I'm at peace with it though. That's what's weird is like, I'm at peace with the wedding.
Nice.
I had like a little minor problem with my dress, but we figured it out. And then now I'm like, I have a planner. So she's, you know, I told her I do not want to think about anything. If something's going wrong, don't even tell me.
Just put a Band-Aid on it, some duct tape in that kind of case.
Yeah, literally. How was your trip though? You're back in Vancouver now.
Yeah, I always find it funny when people call it a trip because like, here's a little disclaimer, I guess I should say. Like, a lot of people are like, oh my God, like, how's your trip to like Sweden? I was like, I live in Sweden. It's not a trip. I'm not saying you, but like
it is a trip, Keltie. Well, it is a trip.
But it's not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a trip is like a vacation. Okay. Like, I have a apartment, you know what I mean, with my name on it, and I'm a Swedish resident. And so it's kind of like, I live in both places. So, you know what I mean? It's a funny term, but people are always like, oh, a little like trip over there. I was like, I don't know how to break it to people, but I live there half the time. So
okay, yeah, I'll let you have that. Yeah. But I do see where people, I would say a trip because you don't, well, do you live 6 months?
Yeah. Like, I know it's funny, but like a lot of people are just like, oh yeah, like, are you going to spend, so people are like, oh, are you going to go spend more time with Megs? Like, what's going to happen? Like, I get that question all the time. I was like, I spend half the year there. So like, I know like a lot of people like don't even realize it, but it's just one of those, like, I'm never mad about it. I'm not like, ugh, people, but it's just kind of a funny thing. Like, we're all trapped in our own lives. And so like in my mind, I'm like, does no one realize this? And like on other people's mind, they don't realize it. Like my best friend the other day was like, oh yeah, like how's it going to change? You guys going to try to see each other more? I was like, I don't know, spending half the year together when we live in two different places is a good chunk of time together. Like, obviously, I wish I could spend every day with him. But yeah, so it's like I don't really call it a trip. It's just more I'm like, oh, I was in Sweden living for a month and a half, and now I'm back for Vancouver for a month and a half, and then I'll go there for a month and a half, and that's kind of how it is.
So is that what you usually do? You split month and a half, month and a half?
The goal is 6 weeks on, like 6 weeks back and forth, but I'm not like too precise about it. So sometimes it's 4 weeks, sometimes it's 8 weeks, occasionally it's 10, but it's kind of like the longer I'm away, the longer I stay. Wow, that rhymed.
That did. Okay, that makes sense. You know, I have a neighbor right next door, and I met him, and he was like, oh yeah, I live part-time in Alabama in here. And I was like, oh, no way, I don't see you often. And he was like, oh yeah, I do 2 weeks in Alabama, 2 weeks in Puerto Rico. And I was like, dang, like that is some whiplash.
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, Michael and I do where we're like, we want 3 to 4 month increments where we're traveling. You know, like we did New York this summer, we're planning a new one. So it's like, I couldn't do like even me going to Seattle and New York, I was gone for like almost 2 weeks. And it's hard because then you can't really get settled, you know? But maybe I don't have a second home. So maybe it would feel normal.
Exactly. So I think it all just depends. And I guess I was kind of even just like, why does that bug me when people say trip? Because, I guess, well, I'm saying two things at once. I was like, I will agree. It makes it a lot easier to travel when you have like a home base, because it's not like, oh, I have to unpack. I have to figure out, like, I don't bring clothes. Like, I just pop with a carry-on and I'm there. And like I have skincare there. I have makeup. I have a sweetest wardrobe. You know what I mean? Like, it's like such an easy acclimation back and forth, aside from like 2 days of jet lag. Like, that's kind of the only issue. Or if there's travel issues. But like, I guess this is why I was like, this is actually, I'm just going to vent for a second. I'm just going to vent. When people,
let it out.
I know you don't think this, but I guess like when other people say like, oh, how was your trip to Sweden? Like, I think they think I go over there and I'm on vacation. Do you know what I mean? They like go there and I just take 6 weeks off and I relax and I drink coffee and I have baguettes. And don't get me wrong, like I drink coffee and enjoy, but like I go there and work a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? There's like, there's like no time. I had a week off for Christmas, but like, I think it's like people are like, oh yeah, it's so nice you get all this time off. I was like, no, it's same life. Like, I just happen to be in a different place. You know what I mean? Still have to do the same amount of work. If anything, it's a little more challenging there because I have all my resources, my office here. But I know it's a very champagne problem. I feel very blessed. But I guess like sometimes I'm like, people are like, oh, you must be so relaxed. I'm like, no, quite the opposite sometimes.
Yeah, you're like, if anything, it stresses me more. I mean, even when I was in Seattle, I was still like taking calls, and I mean, my mom can vouch for that. She is like, bless her soul, because she like deals with me in the morning working, and I'm taking a lot of calls lately, and I'm having a lot of meetings. And she was just like, okay, how do we work around it? And and then I take off like the important, like, you know, days. Or I'll say, hey, what do we have going? Do you mind if I do something before noon or whatever? I feel like it's always a good balance, you know?
Exactly. So that's why I was like, I almost just said that to vent, because I know you, like, I know like when you travel, I'm not like, oh, Sav's taking this time off. I was like, oh no, you just have to do your regular work in a different location. And like you said, sometimes like you're in Seattle, you're going to go spend time with family and do that. But like, you'd also take time off in your regular place, like, you know what I mean? So it's just like a difference. So I had to vent. So thanks for letting me vent.
Yeah, let it out. Okay, noted. Nobody say trip like I did. Otherwise, Keltie will unleash her wrath on you.
I will.
But, you know, I do think, though, it can be hard in a new environment to work, though, because, like even the podcast, I was like, I'm not going to film in Seattle because I'm like, where am I going to film? I have a cat that constantly is like meowing because she has dementia, and like my mom's hanging out, you know, I was like, where would I even do that? So sometimes it does make it tough. Like, I mean, even Mexico, I'm going to be there for almost 2 weeks, but I'm also like, that's my wedding. I'm going to like enjoy. Still do the like laptop work, you know, when I fly there, because it's a 12-hour flight. But I was like, I want to see my sister-in-law. I want to see my parents. Everyone's coming down early. So
it's a struggle. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you can only do so much and do the best you can. But sometimes it gets frustrating because you feel like you're not giving 100, but you are giving 100, but you're just like not physically capable of giving like 100% A plus material, if that makes sense, where you're putting in like 100% effort, but you're like, oh, this lighting is not what I want, this sound quality or whatever that is, even like work, whether you're doing Zoom calls or meetings. I'm sure like everyone feels this. Honestly, I bet you most people have felt this just simply from working from home. And then that transition of like, this probably resonates with a lot of people who are like moms and they're like trying to work and the kids are screaming in the back or they have their dog to deal with. And like, so as much as it's a unique problem, I think it's kind of an oddly universal problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when I worked my sales job, I would like only take half days off. And so then, you're doing admin work in the morning, no matter what, like, cause I mean, also I feel like sales job, you're like a workaholic a lot of the times because you're driven by winning. Yeah. But
true.
That's like really why I loved being sales. I'm such a competitive person. But even like with my wedding coming up, I'm prepping like literally before you and I hopped on our call, I was like prepping everything that I want to have done just so like I can have content backed up in case. I think I used to be so much like I need to post every day. I need to do this. Like, that's our job. And so many people in our industry would be like, Sav, I don't know how you do it. You're constantly posting YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And I finally got to a point where I was like, I need to chill. And like, I need to like be okay with not doing that. And in Seattle, I like really noticed that. Like I just had prepped, a couple videos. My mom took a couple and we were just naturally at the gym. And then some days I just didn't, I just kind of ghosted and just lived my normal life. And it was like so peaceful that I was like, okay, I'm going to do that when I'm in Mexico and just have everything prepped and ready to go. Like I want to just have things. If I want to post, awesome. I don't even have to think about it. It's just done.
Perfect. And quality over quantity. Instead of like, have to post all this. I think like that's such a, Gary Vee mentality of like, just post everything, post all this. And I'm like, I get that strategy, but maybe it's the YouTuber in me. There's something about like taking the time to do something you're really proud of, and it might take a couple days, and you can't also realizing you can't post like your best work every day. So you can take I'm only going to post 20%, but go for quantity, and that's a thing. Or like, and I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I think it's a season. Like sometimes like I just want to post in the moment and not think too much about it and just do it. And then other times you're like, no, I want it to like be really good and be proud of it, and then take time off and refill my cup and post and really stuff I'm proud of. And then, that's kind of like ebbs and flows of creativity in anybody's work, I feel.
Totally. Yeah. It is. It's a weird industry, but you're totally right. Any type of industry. I mean, going back to the sales job, I had to constantly be outbounding and cold calling. Yeah. Otherwise, I wasn't going to get a paycheck. So it was kind of like depending on the job, you know. That's the only type of job I've really had other than when I worked, when I was younger, at like Starbucks and things like that. So it was just like that. I think I was so used to that mentality of like grind, that when I went to work for myself and do what I love to do, I'm like, why wouldn't I grind too?
Fully.
I also have Michael, who's like, literally, have you met him? That man never stops working.
Exactly. I could see you being so good at, well, you're kind of a little bit in sales, not quite, but I could see you being so good at like, if you had just a pure sales job, just like your natural competitiveness and just charisma and everything and just like understanding, you'd be very good at it.
Thank you. No, I crushed it.
Yeah, I
did well. Not to boast, but I was very proud. I worked my way up and like became one of the youngest people to work in like a certain position in that company because I just was like a yes girl. Yeah. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Go for it.
I love it. And actually it made me think of something that could resonate with a lot of people because we were kind of saying, we're like, oh, does that just really apply to Instagram and YouTube and all that? But something I think of like sales, of like taking time off, and just imagine yourself, you're like burnt out, you're like burning the candle at both ends. Every call, you're just like, oh, I'm expecting the worst, I can't do another one. You only put like so much effort because you're burnt out, versus if you actually took that time and you went and filled your cup 100% and then just did like 1 hour you had a day to make these sales calls. You're like, I'm going to make everyone count. And like, you might do better doing that versus being like just nonstop calling all day and kind of be like, oh, it doesn't matter versus no.
Totally.
So there's something about rest. Like there's why pro athletes only train 1 to 3 hours a day and then rest the rest. There's something about going to 100 and resting versus just coasting and burning yourself out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I like that. Well spoken. I hope that resonated with
Somebody, hopefully.
Or it was just our mini vent sesh.
You know what? Thank you for joining our vent session because we needed it.
Yes, exactly. Well, should we get into today's topic? I'm excited because we haven't done a podcast like this in a while.
Yes, very excited. So we're going to do another back to what we were doing. We're hoping to bring a few more of these in then, a month or so. But we want to just hop into some current events that are happening in the fitness world, whether it be news or TikTok or anything. So let's just jump into it. I wish we had a cool little beat right there, like a news anchor room, like bum, 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 bum. You know what I mean?
Current events.
Yeah. Burr, 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 burr. Okay, there was our little transition sound.
One day, maybe.
Right, me just tapping. Okay, sorry. I hope that wasn't annoying for the ASMR people. Hopefully you enjoyed it. But anyways, number 1, news headline. And it's interesting because you actually hadn't heard about this, but I was like, I feel like everyone's talking about it. I don't know how to say it. I know how to say it, but it's going to take me a couple seconds. So the weight loss pill, Ozempic. Oh, I got it that time. Ozempic. So it's that, if you didn't know, there's this, I almost don't want to say it because and I avoided it for a long time because I was like, the less people that know about it, the better was kind of my rationale. I was like, so don't talk about it. Now everyone's talking about it. So I'm like, we might as well talk about it ourselves. So it's this new weight loss pill. So it's probably the Kardashians have been accused of taking it. I believe Elon Musk I don't know if everyone's accusing him, but I'm pretty sure he said he's taking it. Like everyone's taking it, losing all this weight, and it's the new it thing. And we'll also say we're just not doctors. We're just saying about like our thoughts in the whole fitness world doing this. And I thought it was super interesting because me and some friends were talking about it actually a couple of days ago because we're kind of on our wellness journey. So it's not something we're definitely interested in, but the hockey arena in Edmonton now has Ozempic ads like on like the side of the, I should know more about hockey than I do, the boards. Like on the boards there's big like weight loss pill advertising, and like I know like pharmaceutical advertising is quite common in the US, but it's not in Canada or the rest of the world. So even like seeing that is so I'm like off-putting that this is just everywhere now, like this weight loss pill. And I just know so many people who are taking it, and I don't know, it's a great breakthrough potentially for obesity. And I'm not coming in from that because I think diabetes is very complicated. Obesity is very complicated. And anything we can do that helps people with obesity, I'm here for if it's going to extend their life and longevity. So I just want to say that. But now knowing so many people are taking it, that people who actually need it, there's not enough of a supply because so many people are using it to lose 5 to 10 pounds for a vacation. And I don't know, something about it. And I'm not talking about people with obesity. So I'm just talking about a general person who's using it to like lose 20 pounds. I just always think any shortcut you take is robbing you from the future. Like the faster it comes, the more long-term versus you take the slow and steady approach. The slower any progress happens, the longer it's going to last. And I don't know. What are your thoughts on from just the little bit you've heard?
Well, I do have a question. When did it get so popular? How long has it been around?
So it's been around for actually quite a while. I don't have the actual stats. I'd have to like dive into it. But it's been a diabetes drug that has a lot of promise. And then people just notice you're losing a lot of weight and all these other things. So it started to become more used by the general population. And it seemed to not be as like harmful, quote unquote, once again, not a doctor, as like other past weight loss pills that would just like destroy you. Because I believe the consensus is it just makes food unappetizing, and it does some stuff with your insulin levels as well. That's why diabetes take it. But like the average person that takes it who doesn't have diabetes, it just kind of just makes you like nauseous and not want to eat. So you naturally just eat less is like the biggest reason for it. What happens? And I think it started becoming popular because, quote unquote, this has not been proven. This is just what the media headlines are saying. Like when the Kardashians lost a bunch of weight, they've been accused of being on it. And then other celebrities start talking about it. And then like everyone in LA has been like, oh yeah, no, everyone's on it. And so with that whole heroin chic, which I hate talking about, but it's just the reality. And if we want to talk about the fitness current events, it is one. So yeah, it's suddenly, but it's tough. It's hard to say like now every celebrity who loses weight, they're just like, oh, must be on it. So I also feel bad. Now some celebrities might have just made a lifestyle change and they're just, oh, you took the weight loss pill. Or on the flip side, maybe everyone in Hollywood is taking it. Like I don't know. I'm not an A-list celeb, but it's just interesting.
Yeah, that's That's tough. I mean, because, yeah, I see where it's annoying when people discredit if someone did work really hard. I mean, you even see that in bodybuilding. There's like a lot of people that take steroids, or there's a lot of girls online that like get BBLs and then claim that they were weightlifting, you know? And like, it's so corrupt, and you see those types of things, and like, I don't know, to each their own. I completely agree with you that I think the longer your progress takes, the longer it will stay. I completely agree with that, because that was my fitness journey. It took me years. Yeah. And once I got to a certain point, like it's so crazy how long it will stay. Yeah. Even if you take time off of the gym, or, you know, like you change your diet around, or, you know, I don't know, like my body's almost molded to a certain extent, you know, unless 100%. Like I'm not exercising for like 6 months and eating like McDonald's every day. Of course it's going to change. But for the most part, I can like maintain it, right? So I completely agree with that spectrum. I honestly have no idea what to think of it. It's weird. I'm sure I'd heard of it at some point, but I'm so just like unbothered by any current news. I mean, I listen to the Morning Toast, so do you. But even half then, like I don't really listen. Like I'll listen to it occasionally, you know? So that's where... that's crazy, but I could see where, you know, these celebrities are getting that attention with it, and like they're assuming that must be what they're on. Yeah. And I don't know, has anyone ever confirmed it?
That's what I feel. Elon Musk might have. Once again, I'm just gonna Google it right now, but I feel like a couple have. Yeah, Google it. Elon Musk used weight loss to get fit. To be snatched. Yeah, he said it. He's come out. See. And then, like, that's, like, also, like, once he says it, it's, like, all fair game. Do you know what I mean? Like...
But do you think, like, like, I have a hard time believing Elon Musk is, like, that dumb to, like, destroy his body, hypothetically, or whatever, you know, whatever the cons are. I'm like, he must have consulted a professional on this. Like, I don't know. I'm like, unless he just does buy infomercial things and goes for it. He buys, like, a shake weight. I think that's where this is kind of interesting, is it's not in that infomercial world. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this isn't like the classic weight loss pill that's just like full of ephedrine and just going to make you like jittery and crazy, and is practically just meth in a pill. That's what we think of weight loss pills. Like, this is a weird one that's like actually now being prescribed by doctors for like health and weight management. And so, you know what I mean? It's like it's a tricky one, and I think more has to come out of like, and he could have actually technically been in like one of those people that I don't think he had a healthiest of life before. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe he was someone that actually it was useful for, versus like, I think that's kind of the issue right now. It's like some people it is beneficial for, and then, but anyone just hears weight loss pill, give it to me. Do you know what I mean? And like, I think that's the murky line that's happening, like people doing it for vanity, and then the reality of someone who's severely overweight and it's compromising their health, like you're willing to kind of sacrifice, I'm sure, and other things. Just obesity is so complicated, and like I can't even begin. It's the more research, but I do think anything we can do to help those people is beneficial. But yeah, it's just murky, where it's like, but where's the line of you're doing it for the right reasons and you're doing it for the wrong reasons? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who gets to decide? Totally. That's like, where I'm like,
it's complicated.
Like, how do you decide that? Because then it's just judging at that point. But yeah, then if you know somebody that it is affecting negatively, I don't know. I just feel like I don't have enough information on it / an opinion on it. Yeah. To even, I'm just like, that's a weird event right now.
I guess my one thing is I would say is, I'll use like brushing your teeth, is that should be an analogy with anything in health and fitness. Is like your example of like you taking the long route. Everything you've changed is such like an integral part of your day. Like working out isn't like something that you're like, oh, I got to get to the gym. Like you've built it up so you enjoy it. Eating healthy, you know how, and it's just a part of your routine. Like sleeping is part of your routine. Like you've taken long, so you built it up that you never even have to think. There's no emotional energy. It's just part of who you are. It's part of your identity. Versus like doing stuff like this, that's the issue. You might get results, but then as soon as it's taken away, you just go right back to where you were. And that's why yo-yo dieting is a thing. Like, and it will forever be a thing. It's just human nature. Like this, you just have to, and any time in health and wellness, you almost have to think if you're like, do I want to take this on long term? Is this, and you just kind of slowly have to pile on those things, and then you've set yourself up for life. You never have to yo-yo. So that's my thought.
I like that. You never have to yo-yo. YOLO.
New mantra for hitting the bars.
Yes.
YOLO, yo-yo. Yo-yo or
Paste
YOLO?
that on a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Wait, what did we say? YOLO.
Yo-yo.
Now I already forgot it.
Say that 3 times fast. Yo-yo or YOLO.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that. Yo-yo or YOLO? YOLO. Wow, I can't do it.
Challenge. New challenge.
Bad. That's how we talk to each other.
Here's a new drinking game. Take a shot and say yo-yo, YOLO as fast as you can, and record yourself after each shot. See what happens.
Because I would love to believe that everybody is, taking shots with their friends and listening to our podcast at the same time.
I hope so. That's how we know we've made it. People put us on in the background while drinking.
Yeah. That would literally be a dream.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Back to the my fake transition to the next story. Okay, I saw this on the Wall Street Journal. Title: HIIT is dead. So, high intensity interval training workouts are falling out of favor, and fewer people are resuming high intensity exercise as they go back to in-person classes. According to trainers, instructors, and other fitness professionals, instead, people are doing gentler exercises such as yoga or walking, and giving priority to strength training and mobility over calorie burning and weight loss. And I do think HIIT, looking back, was such a funny phase of the fitness community, because first of all, no one was really doing it, because high intensity interval training means like max, like 90 to 100%, which you can only do for like 5-15 seconds, and you can only do a couple times, and then you need a max rep. So it'd be like a full box jump or a full sprint and then rest and relax. But everyone kind of did moderate intensity, like really tough running, and then rest, but like pounded out for 30 to 45 minutes and just destroyed our cortisol levels, because doing it 3 to 5 times a week, when HIIT should be once, twice a week, very short time to get the benefits, even as. So I feel like I'm not surprised this is happening, and I think it's a good thing. Like, people are like, oh, it got like deemed as this like perfect thing, like it burns the most calories, so all you should be doing is HIIT. And I was like, yeah, once again, negative consequences if you do too much of anything.
Yeah, like you almost had anxiety if you didn't incorporate some form of HIIT into your workout, at least. But the thing is like, I like to train that way.
Yeah.
Like, that style of training is what I like to do. So that's where I'm like, I would keep going to those kinds of classes. I would, but I do still prioritize yoga and Pilates. Like, yeah, I think it's like, maybe before they were looked at like, well, you're barely even working out if you're like not getting your heart rate up, or you aren't burning a certain amount of calories. I mean, like Orange Theory, I hate how that like shows you how many calories you're burning in front of everybody and how hard you're working. I'm like, that gives me anxiety. I want to be competitive with myself, but I also don't want to feel like shit if somebody, like this man that's twice my size burned more calories and I don't understand why, like most of us aren't well trained on that. It's just like, I get the competitive edge, but for me, I just thought it was like toxic when I tried it, because I was like, I'm just gonna like run myself ragged every time trying to beat this man that it's impossible to burn the amount of calories his body does, within an hour.
Oh, fully. We should do a podcast episode about exposing Orange Theory Fitness, because I worked for them for 2 years and I got tea.
You did? When did you work for them?
When I was like in my early 20s, I was like, oh my God, they just opened in Edmonton. I was like, like I said, we should do a whole episode, but I just know I'm not a fan of Orange Theory Fitness, and people think I'm hypocritical.
Oh, is it fake?
No, it's over promising, and it's definitely like so much marketing and sales go into it. Like, it's a decent workout. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think it has its place, but they make it seem like it's the most high-end, high-performance, good for athletes. And I'm like, no, you're just doing zone 2 cardio, which is great. We should all do 3 sessions of zone
and like 20 minutes of weights.
Exactly. But they're making it seem like it's this most groundbreaking thing. And I don't know, something about the vibe in there, it was very draining. And like I said, it's a franchise, so every franchise is different. But if you guys comment on our YouTube, but if you want the Orange Theory tea video, let us know, and we can bring it. because I could go on and on. And actually you brought up a good point, because I'm the same. Like I love HIIT. Like we were both athletes. I love that endorphin filled, and like I love berries. But I think the issue was like up till a couple years ago, everyone was under the impression that like you would do berries like 5 times a week, and you do HIIT training and weights and all this intense stuff. Versus now I think we're all trying to realize like do a berries once a week, do some HIIT intervals, maybe 2 to 3, and then do yoga, do Pilates, do 3 sessions of resistance training, go on a walk. You know what I mean? Like we need it all. And just because HIIT is the most effective at burning calories doesn't mean that's you should do it the most. It probably means you should do it the least.
Yeah. Also, I think, take a look at like what you enjoy to do when you train, what your goals are. Yep. That's important. Like where you're starting from, So I think there's just a lot that goes into it, where maybe in the past with marketing, it was like, no matter what you're at, no matter what age, what body type, like this will make you transform completely. And that wasn't always like the case, like whenever girls would come to me and be like, I want to get this certain body. And especially if it was like growing a big butt or whatever, like huge back gains, I'm like, Orange Theory is great, like to get active. Don't get me wrong. I think it promotes, being active every day. But like that's going to require you to like specifically train a certain way and increase your weights when you're lifting and challenge your body more than what free weights and the cardio will do for you. To some extent. Of course there's also genetics that play a part of it, but like I was always just very transparent of like, I think it's great, don't get me wrong, but like you have to be realistic. And like if I want to look a certain way, and I used to think that back in college, I was like, oh, I'd love to look like X, Y, and Z, this person. And then I'd go on the elliptical for an hour, and then I'd do a couple sit-ups, and then like I'd be confused why I didn't look like that. And I'm like, well, there was literally no thought process. I didn't research it at all. I just was like in my own head being like, I saw, Legally Blonde, and she did cardio, and she looks like that. Yeah. So
that's the solution. Like you see like 3% of someone's workout, you're like, I'll just do that. I'll just do that in infinity, and I'll look just like them. And you're like, oh my God, so complicated. But when you're young, you just see something like, I would just open a random magazine and hear a workout that Blake Lively did. And I was like, hey, I'm doing that.
Totally. Well, do you remember, this was like years and years ago when I first got into fitness, when I first moved to California, first time I ever discovered even like influencers. Like Instagram was really just like starting with it. And I remember this one influencer sold programs, and I loved her body, and I was like, I want to be like her. And so I did her workout program, and it was a great workout program, but there was zero cardio associated with it. Like it was like back then it was like really like lifting was the thing. Like nobody really prioritized like cardio, like they kind of make fun of it. And so I was like, oh, well, I've been on the elliptical every time. I guess I'll try this. And I actually gained so much weight just from like not moving enough. And like I realized my body needed a well-rounded workout of weightlifting, but also I need to do some form of cardio, not only for like my heart health, but like literally for me to see the results I wanted. I could not get it the way she was. Like that probably worked for her, but for me, I was like, girlfriend, you are going to put on a lot of weight. You'll put on some muscle, but you just like are not moving enough. And
I think we all have that one phase. Like I had to do that full bulk that one Christmas. Have I talked about that on the podcast?
No.
Oh yeah, I talked about it on YouTube. So I got it blended together. So when I was in my crazy fitness era, and it's confusing, but actually Greg Duchette called me out on this. So I laughed out. I was like, I'm a hard gainer, but it's because I'm lanky, and so I don't gain about a muscle. But then he's like, you're an athlete, and you've, strong and all this. He's like, you're not a hard gainer. I was like, that's true. But anyways, he phrased it a lot better. It's funny if you see the episode, he called me out on it. But I've just naturally, I don't put on muscle like this. Like I'm just a bit taller versus like other bikini girls are shorter. They have bigger butts. I just have no hips. So the one year my coach had me do a dirty bulk. So it was like no cardio, absolute no walking. I just did weightlifting 4 to 5 times a week, only an hour, no movement, and eat and eat and eat. And I It was like the fluffiest I've ever been. And oh my God, I did not feel
see
good.
a pic.
I'll try and find it. Let's just say there's not many photos. Cause let's say I did not want to take a photos in this. I like nothing fit me. I wore like the same hoodie every day. And I was just like miserable. I've never been like so just in a bad place, like physically. I was just like, this does not feel good. And then once I stopped and like just the force feeding and doing little cardio, my body, there's just like, I hate to say it, but like, it is interesting when you listen to your body. Like, I don't say it fell off, but, you know, I lost it pretty fast because my body, you could just tell, like, my body was craving moving more. Like, it was like, why are you so sedentary all of a sudden? Like, this isn't good for you. Like, you should move more than this.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, I can't do any cardio because I'm going to lose all my gains. And I'm like, and I lost it. And yeah, maybe I put on 3 pounds of muscle, maybe a pound, probably. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, all that work, all that miserably for what? I mean, versus I just rather do like the lean, I think they call it like the lean gain or whatever, but just kind of stay at maintenance and grow muscle over time. I'm like, that is a lot more fun way.
Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure.
I'll try and find a photo.
I mean, even opposite way. I did like, I want to see a photo of that. I used to be really, really, really lean. Like when I first had really gotten into all of this after that bulk, I was like, wow, fuck this. And then I went like complete opposite. And I was like sprinting every day. And I was just like, I was going insane. I was like an Energizer bunny. I was like going to the gym constantly. And honestly, like everyone has those phases where they're like, you kind of have fun with it. You don't really realize like, it's just like an extreme hobby at that moment, especially when you have like that athlete mind. It's like, oh, it's just, you know, it fills my time now. And I got so lean. I've never, ever been this lean in my life. And like, I deal with like, I was a chunky kid. So like, that was always my dream, was to be like that girl that was lean. Mm-hmm. And like, even the opposite spectrum, I was like, I wasn't even enjoying that. I was like, okay, well now I like am really picky with what I eat. I like don't drink ever because, and I was like young. I was, you know, my younger 20s, and I'm like, too paranoid. I'm like thinking about it 24/7 when I'm drinking, or, you know, like I couldn't relax. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm failing if I don't make it to the gym, and if I don't do, you know, 45 minutes of cardio on top of this. And so like you, I'm like, I like just maintenance. Like I'm glad I put on more weight. I am glad that I put on more muscle from what people have known me back way, you know, years and years ago, because it was just like not mentally healthy. No. It's like those extremes. You know, whoever works for that, like that's awesome. But if you're like, honestly, I just feel like maintenance and just like healthy lifestyle. And of course, if you want to look good, work out to look good too. You know, give yourself little, you know, challenges. I think that's great. But also just like, you know, look what's actually important to you. For me, it was longevity. It was just maintaining being healthy. And that also meant my mental health too. Yeah.
I love that. That longevity and balancing the physical and mental. That is beautiful. Just tied up with a bow. I like that.
It's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. Ooh, deep. Okay.
I know. Cookies.
Oh, I could go for one right now. I'm hungry.
Oh, same. Always could go for one.
True. I don't have to be hungry. I'm just like, I could be full as could be. And there's just that little extra part of your stomach. It's like, but I'll have the cookie.
Oh, I will always have the cookie. Yeah. Wait, question though. Okay. You know, at end of the night, you had dinner with your friends. Yeah. Are you somebody that's going to get a sweet cocktail, or would you rather not have a cocktail and get a dessert?
I get dessert and a coffee. That's the ideal.
No coffee's allowed.
I can't have a coffee? No, not a sweet coffee, like a espresso.
No coffee.
I can't have an espresso, like a black coffee.
Coffee's not allowed. Dessert or coffee.
Oh,
or sorry,
I thought
dessert or a drink, like a snazzy dessert drink.
I'm not talking a snazzy dessert drink though. That's what I'm saying, like a plain black tea or coffee and a dessert. Not a fancy coffee.
But I'm saying there is no liquid allowed with the dessert.
Well, I'm just saying that's like what I would do. Well, I'll say dessert, but I want you to know I've ordered the dessert and an espresso. So that's what I'm doing. But I will pick dessert for your quiz's sake.
Okay. I didn't know if it would change you if you didn't get the coffee option with it.
No. It's just more, I'm like, that's where I'm like, I don't, as much as a fancy drink's fun, I want a dessert. But when I get a dessert, I'm also always getting a coffee with it. Because that's like the perfect, like not a fancy, that sounds sickening. I won't lie. Like a fancy sweet dessert coffee and a dessert. I'm like, that could be a little too much.
Yeah.
How about you?
Totally. See, I'm like I'd rather take the drink, but it's alcohol.
Oh, are we talking?
That's what I meant.
I was thinking like you meant like one of those like fancy, white mochas. I thought you were talking that.
No, no. I was thinking like in my head, I'm like, because this weekend I was with my friend Courtney and we had like a lychee martini. And in my head, I'm like, but I love these lychee martinis. Like they're literally like, I always go to this one restaurant for them. But she usually like gets the dessert and I'm like, I'd rather get the lychee martini because to me it tastes like dessert.
I see what you're saying. But for me, the two are never a battle because it's either we're going home after this and so this is kind of the end of the night, I'm getting dessert, or if you're like, hey, we're going out drinking after this, I'm like, I don't want a dessert and a beer in my stomach. I'm
true.
You know what I mean? So it's like that problem has never faced me because I see what you're saying though, where you're like, this is practically a dessert. So I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
but I've never had that problem because they're opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah. No, you make sense. I guess I wouldn't get it right if we're going home. Yeah. But usually it's like we're hanging out, like we'll like get another cocktail together and it'll be like another hour hangout or something. Like I don't know. I'm just not a big dessert girl anymore.
See,
I passed up apple pie at my cousin's and I was like, who am I?
Crazy.
I don't know. It just sounded so sweet. I
Can't relate. See, I'm the one that's like, if you order dessert, I'm like, I'm for it. I'm never going to be like, not for me. Like if I'm drinking, sometimes it doesn't sound as appealing. Like I'm just like, get me more alcohol. Yeah. But if I'm drinking and someone's like, let's get the cheesecake, I'm like, sure. Let's see what cheesecake and tequila in my stomach says. It's usually not good. Usually not a good. That's one of those things you don't realize. Like when you're eating this and you're drinking and your stomach's like, what are you consuming up there? It's like a tequila milkshake.
The worst is when you do like Mexican food. Yeah. And then go out or something that's like heavy. But you're like, oh. Yeah. You feel bloated. Yeah, definitely not.
I don't know why me and my girlfriends like are things Italian. So the amount of times like, let's go have a big Italian meal, like 3 kinds of pastas, and then go to the club. Like, why is like that? That's a not smart combo. But every time
have the carbs for the energy.
I mean, it's great. Like, and we do it. It's not like we did it once and was like, oh, that was a mistake. We continuously do it. But the amount of times I've like left there and been like, I'm so full. And now I have to pour champagne down my throat. I'm like, this is a champagne problem. But still, I'm just like,
wow. What? Just quoting Taylor Swift.
Yep. All I can think about is my stomach in this moment is just like ravioli, carpaccio, tequila. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Oh, lovely. Mm-hmm. I think sushi is probably the worst one for me.
Oh, no.
Because it's like there's so much rice.
It's not really like sushi is like refreshing. Do you know what I mean? It's not really filling. So I feel like it doesn't line my stomach before. But I'll still, it's almost like I get too drunk if I have sushi. Do you know what I mean? The alcohol hits me so fast. Because it's not as filling.
I will roll out of sushi restaurants because I've eaten so much sushi.
See, I don't know what it is. Even like I eat to the point of filling. Sushi, and I'm like, maybe I just need a bit more grease before I go out. Like, I'm like, I just want like a burger. Yeah. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Okay. I got you.
I see what you're saying too.
Well, you know how I don't eat like those I don't eat red meat and things like that. And so, it's so funny because Michael, I got back from the gym and I made myself like 2 bean tacos. Yeah. And like, I like lentils. I like beans. Like, I don't really like eating meat. It's just like, I'm not vegetarian. I just don't really like crave it / the texture sometimes creeps me out. And he was like, wow, could never be me. Like, he was like he just thinks it's funny that I'll like make these concoctions up in our refrigerator. And I was like, cheese, lettuce. And our friend Jamie was over yesterday and I was like, hey, I'm making like random food in the fridge, do you want some? And he was like, yes. And so he had dinner with us and I was like, sorry, this lettuce is a little old. And like I had kidney beans, not black beans, but honestly I kind of like those better. But even like I was like, hey, Keltie and I are gonna do a podcast, but like, and I told him I'd make enchiladas and I didn't. So I was like, don't worry, I already made dinner. He's like laughing and I'm like, well, after I show him dinner, he's like laughing. I'm like, you are not being appreciative. And he's like, no, I'm laughing because you claimed you made dinner and it's a bagged salad in the fridge and a bag of steak that like you took out of the freezer for me to cook. And I was like, that's making dinner.
Yeah. A domestic goddess right here, ready for her wedding.
Literal.
The steak salad special.
Some days I'm like really good. Like I was weeding this weekend and I was like, wow, domestic right here. I am desperate housewife weeding the front yard. But then other times I'm like, I'm wearing some Adam Sandler outfits and I'm like, go get yourself some pizza.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Well, with that being said, should we wrap up this this episode?
We definitely should. If that oddly pause is because I was just peeking over because we got some comments on the YouTube. So I thought let's read one and then we'll sign off for the day. We got Ray at first comment, that can't be right, because the first comment on our YouTube video. I just want to say, yes, gold star, thank you. And I just love this quote. It was me who said that let us know whose voice is who, and I am a millennial, LOL. Because remember at the beginning we were like, is it weird that we introduce ourselves? And we're like, are we old? Is that cringy? And I was like, and the person who asked is a millennial. I was like, it is a millennial thing that we're doing this. But then there was someone in the comments that was Gen Z. And was like, no, they love it too. So I'm like, can we just talk about a Gen Z and millennial? We're different, but we're like the same. Do you know what I mean? It's like
same but different. Yeah.
Here's how I would describe it. Most of us grew up in the same household. You know what I mean? We had the same age parents, both grew up, but Gen Z was just a little behind her. Unless we're talking like the elder millennials and the really young Gen Z. I was like, maybe they don't have anything. Yeah. But for the most part,
there's some elder millennials that I think is too old for me.
It's true. I won't lie. There's a couple I talk to. I'm like, we're not of the same generation.
No.
So I was like, but I was like, there has to be like a different group, like Mel X or something. No, yeah. Mel Z. I don't know. So like that, where like, I mean, like, we all grew up watching the same stuff, but like one of us is a little younger. Because there's some millennials. I'm getting off topic. Chuggy, to say the word. You know what I mean?
Definitely. But also, well, I was born in 95. That's like the cusp of Gen Z and millennial. Yeah. Not to like toot my own young horn, but
I know. It's true though.
But I mean, my cousin, he's 16 and my other cousin's 13. And I was chatting with them in Seattle and I was like, I kind of want to dye my hair blue, like aquamarine. And they were like, who's aquamarine? And I'm like, you're kidding me. JoJo? Like aquamarine, like mermaid? And they're like, who? And I showed them it, and they're like, is that a good movie? I'm like, you're a 13-year-old girl and a 16-year-old boy. Like, that was like, everybody saw Aquamarine. I was like, I'm so old. Never mind.
I will say, they wouldn't be Gen Z, though. They'd be even younger. Because isn't, like, Gen Z, like, 8?
What?
Yeah.
That's not Gen Z?
No, I think that's the other generation.
Oh, God. Okay. Well,
that's
then
like,
we're 2 generations removed.
It's like, what age is Gen Z?
Second cousins in 2 generations.
I was wrong. Gen Z is 11 to 26. Why did I think Gen Z was like 18? Nice. I thought it was every 10 years. That makes sense. There's like a 15-year gap.
See, I'm 27.
See, you're at, but that makes sense.
More
that like
trendier than you, man.
It's true, but it makes sense where it's like I would be a younger millennial because I won't lie. Like some millennial stuff, I'm like, don't cap me in with that. Like, do you know what I mean? But so that makes sense that like
totally.
The generations are like 15 years. I thought they were like 5 to 8. So that makes a bit more sense.
This is why I turn to Nona when I have Gen Z questions. Like I'm not in the club, but I'm in the club.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like almost in the club. I'm basically Katie, Caddy, and Mean Girls. Like not quite there, cool enough to be Gen Z, but on the outskirts because I'm a year older.
I won't lie. The fact you used Mean Girls to quote it is saying very millennial. Saying millennial. So you're not selling.
I should have used
that was an awful reference. But
dang it, that's not cool anymore, is it?
No, it's not that it's not cool. It's just like
stop trying
vintage.
To make it fetch.
It's you're just showing your age. You're just showing your age.
Yeah. And I'm proud. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I'm turning 28 in like a couple days, so I just aged myself there, but I can't tell a lie.
No.
So actually, I'm 2 years older. Well, okay. less than 2. Yeah.
Who
We'll
does
accept
math?
it. Okay,
Who does
sorry.
math?
Get on with the comment.
Anyways, I just exited out.
You want me to read it? Oh, I'll read it too.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at it.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. I finally get to read something. Okay. Edited to add. I have no clue how y'all handle being influencers. I straight up had to change careers because I couldn't handle the quote unquote fame of being on the air, of being an on-air personality on a local station in a small town and people thinking they were entitled to know every detail of my personal life. Hats off to you all. Exclamation point.
I just want to say thank you. It's kind of nice sometimes. I'm like, our job, like we said, champagne problems. But sometimes it's nice to be like, it's champagne problems, but it's also kind of hard. So I was like, you know what? Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Because, yeah, sometimes it does really suck.
Yeah, I won't lie. Like,
you know, when you read things about yourself, you stumble on it, you're like, wow, that really sucks.
Yeah.
It's like high school.
Yep. You're like, oh, okay, there's a trauma relived.
Yeah. Like Q, Mean by, not Mean Girls, Mean by Taylor Swift.
Oh, yes.
With your words like knives and swords and weapons that I use against you. And not lay off my feet again. I could sing the entire song.
I love it. Well, on that note, that beautiful song, let's end today's episode.
Oh, wait, you wanted to do a shout out.
Oh,
you forgot your own shout out.
I did. Should we?
You texted me this.
I know.
You forgot it.
It was the first thing I even wrote. Should we do it at the beginning of next episode so she definitely hears it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make her listen.
So, yeah, wait till next episode. We got a special shout.
And that's called, I don't know the tactic.
I don't know. Cliffhanger.
Okay. Clickbait. No. All right.
Bye.